Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today's episode 161, Financial Planning with Scott Sturgeon.
Good morning.
Scott, welcome.
Glad to be here, Jake. Thank you so much for having me on. It is a pleasure to be here.
You know, shame on me. You started working with us was it May or April?
April of this year.
Wow. So I waited 5 months to get you on the show.
The anticipation's been building. I think that's the key. At least my takeaway has been that,
Right. And we wanted to make sure you weren't going to flake out on us and leave. So you're here, fully committed, 5 months. He's not going anywhere, folks. So
very excited to be here. It's been a great experience, and it's been, Jake, credit to you in building out a really great team. For me coming in, it was a pretty seamless transition, which has been really great.
Well, thank you. That's really kind of you to say. And for today's topic, everyone out there watching and listening, we hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. And for today's show, I wanted to introduce Scott to our Falcon Wealth Advisors audience. And then I wanted to talk about some financial planning topics that maybe he's come across, so that maybe you can have some tips out there when you're looking at your financial plan. And so, Scott, let's dive right into it. So grew up in Kansas, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Right here in Kansas City, out south in the burbs. And I went to high school here in town, went to University of Kansas for my undergraduate degree, and then went to University of Missouri, Kansas City for my law degree and MBA. So lots of letters after my name, whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, lots of school, but I think a lot of that has provided me a lot of insight and additional kind of knowledge and unique perspectives in the way that I'm able to work with clients and the value I can provide. I think at the end of the day, I think that's what we're here to do, is provide value to clients, and really, so for me, that's really kind of my focus.
Yes, absolutely. And our 4 core values at Falcon Wealth Advisors, number 2 on that list is knowledge. And so that was one of the big things that attracted us to you when we were looking to bring on another lead advisor on our team, is we wanted somebody that either had a lot of experience, which you do, or was also very credentialed, which you have that as well. So for our Missouri and Kansas clients, the good news with Scott is he's got both boxes checked, right? He's got a degree from a Kansas institution and a Missouri, so you can't hold anything against him as far as that's concerned. So good thinking, because we get a little bit of that Kansas-Missouri rivalry still amongst our clients.
It's true.
And so your undergrad, what was your major at KU?
I was actually a history major, and I minored in business. So kind of had an idea on, basic financial principles, accounting, marketing, and all that kind of stuff. But actually, as a history major, interestingly, I feel like what we do is pretty applicable to that. It's a lot of just kind of ingesting data, i.e. for history, it's, reading about the past and kind of, how things have occurred and how that influences the things that we do today. And when we look at investing or financial planning, it's always helpful to have kind of a hindsight perspective to know, the regulations that we have, or the ways that we invest, or kind of the principles we adhere to in investing dollars. Excuse me. How have we founded those principles? Where does that come from? What's the rationale and methodology behind it? What's the history behind it? So I think certainly I don't, I'm kind of a history buff, I'm not by any means a historian per se, but it's interesting how in life things just kind of come full circle like that. The things that you maybe are learning or doing, you don't immediately, kind of associate with something you're going to be doing 10 or 15 years down the line, but oftentimes I feel like it kind of does.
You're right. Absolutely. And that's great. And we do the same. What do we learn from bubbles, or when people got scared and made an irrational decision, right? Mm-hmm. And then what did we learn when we faced the fear of COVID and didn't panic out of the market? It worked out well for our clients because we actually bought when the market dipped, and history shows us the time and time again, when you do that, more times than not, you're going to have a much better outcome than using emotions to dictate. So that's good. That's an excellent deal. So you went on to law school. I'm just curious for our audience. So what made you switch from law to finance? So you got your law degree, which is all, which is not easy, right? So you went down that whole road, and then you switched gears and you went down the financial planning route. So what changed in your mind?
Yeah, I think mine was definitely kind of a winding road, but I don't know that I would have changed anything. I ended up where
Sure.
I was supposed to be. I think I love the work that I do. And I think when I was in school, especially getting my law degree in my first year, I think I kind of saw the writing on the wall that really the courses I was interested in had specifically to do with anything business related. So, UMKC, to their credit, they have a great law degree, MBA dual program where you can kind of shave off a semester, or maybe it was even a year, for both programs. So went that route and kind of dipped my toe in the water through the block school. And through that took, investment management, financial modeling, and lots of those types of courses, and really enjoy the overlap that I found between kind of that coursework, if you will, kind of the more technical investment analysis types of things, with more of the legal side and kind of how those two coincide, if you will. And so when I graduated, I think I was really looking for an industry where I could use a lot of that technical knowledge that I had acquired, and really, the ability to dig into the weeds on an analysis and things like that, but also something where I could build really strong relationships with people over long periods of time, really offering value and helping people in that way. So in my mind, financial planning and wealth management are basically the perfect marriage of those two goals or objectives, if you will, in that, we will meet with clients, and it requires, I think, a lot of kind of understanding in kind of where they are emotionally and where they are objectively, what their goals are, what are their family dynamics like, and all of those types of elements. But also, in what way on kind of the backside or back end, if you will, are we trying to find strategies for them to implement to save on taxes over the long run, or invest appropriately in accordance with the risk tolerance and, kind of a return that we're trying to seek out. So long-winded answer, but I think that's kind of, at least for me, that was the appeal in the work that we do.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you popped out of UMKC with, at the same time, you had the law degree and the MBA.
Yep.
Wow, that's a lot of firepower to come out with. So good for you I'm sure it was a lot of work too, but to get both of those done concurrently there is pretty cool.
Yeah.
So then you went to work with, at a major local bank, and then soon after at a major, another independent, financial management firm or investment advisor firm. So tell me about your experiences there and kind of what prepared you to move on to eventually become a lead advisor. Maybe give me a little bit. So how many years experience do you have? You tell our audience, in financial services after
Sure.
college.
Yeah. And actually, even in law school in my last year, when I was concurrently in law classes and business classes, I interned at a broker dealer here in town. And that, I think, was kind of the real kind of first putting your toe in the water and understanding what the industry is all about. From there, Jake, like you mentioned, went on to work at a large trust company here in town, working with high net worth individuals, a lot of estate planning work and trust work for them. And then also for a large RIA, another wealth management firm here in town, in their practice management team. So kind of working almost like an advisor to advisors, kind of helping with technology implementation or consulting on weird, strange, one-off client scenarios. And so really during that time, lots of different roles, I think. At the broker dealer, I was in the legal department, helping them out with different matters that would come up. At the trust company, I was working with clients. So 3.5 years, sitting down across the table from people and kind of figuring out how we would be able to best serve them. And then, like I mentioned, at the RIA, really kind of more on the, I guess, kind of the back office type of role, but certainly in helping. Literally, I think every day we woke up thinking, how can we, at the end of the day, make for a better client experience for the clients of that firm? And so I think for me at Falcon, and kind of the way I work with clients now, it's really kind of a summation of all of those experiences, right? Like, thinking about it from maybe their perspective, instead of just, what's new solution can I provide or something like that. It's more so, if I were in their shoes, what kind of experience would I want from a wealth management firm? And then really making sure that we're asking that question to make sure that we're, at the end of the day, answering to those objectives or goals or kind of expectations that they have.
Right. Good. Yeah. Thank you. So you've got total, and you were what, 3 or 4 years at the RIA? Or
Yeah. Yep.
about 3 years or so, right? So you've got 6 or 7 years of after school real world experience. Join our team now as a lead advisor. So for our audience, we have 3 lead advisors on our team. So myself, Corey, and now Scott, right? Scott's already working with 50 plus families as part of our practice. So he's already in there rolling up his sleeves and giving really good financial advice. You're also a certified financial planner. Maybe you can go over what that means a little bit for everyone as well.
Sure. So certified financial planner, CFP for short, is I think kind of just the gold standard when you think about the work that we do for clients. It's kind of I guess I would call it like a generalist designation. So a lot of high level focus in a lot of different areas. So but by no means a super finite expert in any one field maybe, but certainly knowledgeable. And at the end of the day, I kind of view it like almost like my law school experience. The CFP is really, really helpful for what we call issue spotting in the legal field. You're more or less looking at a situation and trying to determine what items or issues do I need to kind of pull out and analyze in more depth in order to, answer the question or provide the solution to the client. So it's, subject matter fields like insurance, investments, taxes, even entity formation. So if you're starting a business, what might be a good route to go for that? And, a lot of it is kind of common issues that clients will deal with. So tax implications on rental properties, for example, or how to construct a portfolio in accordance with a client's risk tolerance and kind of the risk capacity. So I think for me, it's been super helpful when I meet with clients as they're speaking and saying things to me and kind of explaining their scenario and listing off maybe accounts or things they dealt with or what have you. In the back of my mind, all the gears are turning to think like, okay, this is something we need to touch on. This is another thing we'll want to make sure we work with, and not necessarily all at once out of the gate. Right. Some things, if a client comes up without an estate plan, we're going to maybe reference something to look into, but certainly that's something we're going to work with them on to implement and make sure it's in accordance with what they're really, looking to achieve.
Yeah, that's really good. And so, Corey and I, we're both chartered retirement planning counselors. So our niche has always been somebody planning for, nearing, or in retirement. And that's where, I do work with a variety of clients, but that's really my bread and butter and really where my focus and my education, and I believe where we add the most value, at least he and I. But bringing you on with the CFP, again, you've got a broader scope of understanding on here, and maybe talk a little bit about where you've been focusing a lot of your interest right now as far as the perfect type, maybe not perfect, but the specific type of clientele that you want to work with.
Yeah. And I think, Jake, you're right. I think my background and abilities give me the ability to work with a wide variety of clients. I think for me, one of the ones I've really been focusing in on are companies that are presently private, but potentially have the likelihood of going public sometime in the next several years. And with that comes a variety of different issues that are kind of unique to each company in the way that they're structured. I mentioned that entity structure, how is equity apportioned among the executives at the firm or the employees as some kind of an incentive to work there. So, that's kind of been my focus of late. But as you mentioned, a broad experience, a broad background. So really the ability to work with a pretty broad group of individuals and families.
Right. And that's a perfect complement with Corey and I, because he and I have focused on primarily publicly traded companies, right? And doing net unrealized appreciation, which I talked about on my last episode of Upticks, managing that publicly traded stock through covered calls and other avenues. And so I don't have a lot of background on someone that's worked at a private company that has gone public. So it's great that you're focused on that, you're educating yourself on that, and you're prepared to help advise clients that may be faced with that potential opportunity, which can be an amazing opportunity for them, certainly. So, So quick plug here, quick commercial. You also have 2 shows that you've been cranking out every week. So the first show is called Mental Dividends, and that's, based on financial topics, right? Do you have a theme for that? I mean, who should be tuning in to Mental Dividends?
Honestly, I keep it pretty broad, and most of the inspiration that I draw from are issues that clients are dealing with, or people, on the street or out in social circles or what have you. People ask me questions about. whether it's the economy or what are markets doing or what's, this week, spoiler alert, I've got the Biden's tax plan, the proposal for that. So some action potentially between October 1st and the end of the year on what that plan is going to look like. But people, I think, are curious about it. Maybe they read an article about it. They're not really sure what maybe the implications are. So a lot of it I just draw from, I think, real life. And so for really anyone who is starting to kind of look more at their finances and really take financial planning into account and maybe looking towards planning for their future, I think it can be really helpful on not just, investment specific topics, but really a broad range of things that I think really anyone would encounter in everyday life.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. So you can find that on your favorite podcast platform, along with right here on our YouTube channel, the Falcon Wealth Advisors Collective. And then you're a busy guy. You've got another show you're doing, and literally these shows are kicking out every single week. The other show is called Sports and Money with a local celebrity, right? Joshua Briscoe from 810 AM Radio, that guy's got an amazing personality, very, very sharp guy. Mm-hmm. Tell me a little bit about your show with Josh.
Yeah, so Josh and I, for I think 20 episodes now, have done Sports and Money. It's as straightforward as it sounds, really just a dialogue and discussion on the intersection of sports and money. So often we will pull from relevant events that are recent that have to do with, whether it's athletes making lots of money or athletes losing lots of money, or ways to be that we see the intersection of the planning work that we do here at Falcon Wealth Advisors with things that are happening in sports. Perfect example, we've got an episode coming up on the Broncos, the NFL football team, have kind of been roiled in this estate planning debacle for the last several years. And, for clients or anyone really who doesn't have an estate plan in place, it's the perfect case study to look at and say, whether you own a $3 billion NFL team or you've got, $2 million in your IRA and your house and taxable accounts, estate planning is such a critical component of making sure that things are set up the way that you want them to be to really take care of your family in the event that you pass away. So just one example, but it's super fun. Josh is hilarious, and it's just a really fun, pretty lighthearted podcast. I've really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Yeah. So again, same with that one, right? You could find that on your favorite podcast platform. And then we host that right here on Falcon Wealth Advisors Collective, all in one-stop shopping here on our YouTube channel as well. So good. So leading into the financial planning aspect of it, what are maybe, you've been doing this a while now, you're meeting with clients here at Falcon Wealth Advisors. Give me one or two key takeaways that, again, broadly speaking, that people should be thinking about when they're thinking about their financial plan from your experience, and again, I have my own perspective because I'm a retirement guy, but what about what you've seen, or what is something that you're like, everyone should be thinking about this?
Yeah. And it's a great question, Jake. I think the biggest one is just taking action and working with an advisor. I think hands down, that is one of the biggest value adds that we can bring to the table, is identifying issues and things that you should be thinking about, or, maybe you have thought about, but just haven't acted on. Our role is to identify those topics and items that maybe you're overlooking, or, we had that estate plan done 10 years ago, and, it's maybe it's fine as is, but maybe it's not. And so our role, I think, is to hone in on that and say, okay, what can we really identify that needs to be addressed today? And how do we help you take action? That's I think one of the biggest pieces. I think, prospects will ask from time to time, why couldn't I just put my money into an S&P 500 ETF or a mutual fund? And I don't really need you guys. And I think my answer is maybe you could, but what are you going to do in a down market? And how is this going to impact your taxes? And, are you insured enough that in the event you stepped out in front of a bus tomorrow, your wife and kids are totally taken care of and there's nothing to worry about. So I think that it's a lot of, like I mentioned, taking action, and probably even before that, just identifying issues that need to be addressed to really protect yourself and really to protect the things that you've built over time with your hard-earned, dollars and time, for sure.
Right. That's really good. Yeah. And I think sometimes even people don't even know what they don't know. So I think even taking action, and even if you walked into our office or we had a conference call or a Zoom meeting, and we look at everything, but 9 times out of 10, we're probably going to find something that you can improve on, but maybe not, right? And maybe we say, you know what, this thing is ironclad. It is solid. You have thought of everything. Good for you. We wish you well. And that's okay too. But like you said, I don't know what it is, complacency, maybe because it's a complicated subject. A lot of people don't even want to deal with it, or life gets in the way. They've got kids or grandkids, or they're working. But your finances are very important. I mean, we go to the doctor for our health, we get our teeth cleaned, we get our eyes checked. You need to get your finances checked too, because, most all of our clients are really hardworking people. And I hate to see them work very hard, and there's one little shift we could have done to set them up for a much better retirement or whatever it is they're looking to do. And all they needed to do was meet, right? All they needed to do was have a conversation. And so that's good. That's a good one, actually. I kind of threw that at you, but that's a really good point, is don't let inertia, get in the way of your financial plan. And one thing that we pride ourselves at Falcon Wealth Advisors is that we take all this complicated jargon, right, and we break it down in plain English so that you can understand it. We'll show it to you in your financial plan, right, on paper, on a TV or whatever, so you can understand it. We'll explain it to you so you can explain and understand exactly what your financial plan means to you, and that's very important. So,
no question.
Good. So another quick plug. I'm out there on social media. My audience knows that I'm on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Scott, what are your preferred social media platforms? Where are you most active?
LinkedIn for sure, and Twitter at Sir_Sturgeon.
Sir Sturgeon. All right.
It's old handle, but I've kept with it. I kind of like it,
I do too, Sir Sturgeon. Now, and somebody joked about this the other day. A sturgeon, is that some sort of, forgive my ignorance, isn't that a sea creature?
It's a fish, actually a freshwater fish. It's one of the oldest living beings. Like, we're talking swimming around during the dinosaurs. So
wow.
They can get to be huge, like 20 feet long and weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds. But thankfully, if you Google one, they're hideous fish to look at. So, maybe on my off days, I do have a look of a sturgeon, but hopefully on better ones, not so much.
So have you ever, I know you like to hunt and fish. Have you ever went fishing for sturgeon?
Oddly, I never have. A lot, I think, as I understand it, they're in kind of northern areas. So Canada, Alaska, I think you can catch them. And I think somewhere, places in Europe for sure. Interestingly, fun fact about sturgeon, that's where they get caviar from.
Sturgeon eggs. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. Do people actually fish and eat sturgeon?
I think they fish for them. I don't know that they're good eating. Certainly there's probably better fish.
Right.
I haven't ever seen a sturgeon on a menu, which is, probably an indication they're not that good.
Right. And embarrassing. Well, maybe not embarrassing, but my wife wants to do falconry or check it out. I've never done that either. So I'm right there with you. Falcons are cool looking birds, but I want to do that thing with your arm and the glove and call it out.
Oh, that would look so cool though. That could
I know. I need to do that.
If I Google Falcon Wealth Advisors and you're standing there with a falcon on your arm,
that would be cool.
Sign me up immediately.
That would be cool. And then quick personal, right? So you're married. You guys have a baby girl, right? And how old's your daughter?
Scarlett is 8 months and change.
Awesome. So I bet that's been a lot of fun.
It is. She's mobile, very active, doesn't sit still, and it's super fun. It's been
good. Well, we're happy for you. We're glad that you're here with Falcon Wealth Advisors. So if anyone out there, again, Scott, we'll flash up your email here on the screen if you guys have any questions for Scott. But again, he's another lead advisor on our team, so he's working right alongside Corey and I. He's got access to all of our financial planners, our investment research and traders, and our client service group. So again, we're just partnered up with Scott, and we're excited to see him with his different perspective add more value to our clients. And we look forward to working together. So thank you, Scott, for joining me on the show. I know we got a team meeting here we got to get to, but thank you all for tuning in. We hope you have a great week. And thanks again, Scott.
Thank you.